We live in a world drowning in noise. Every second people are talking, arguing, scrolling, and over-analyzing. The silence is unbearable, and the need to respond is constant. But what if true power lies not in saying more, thinking more, or doing more, but in mastering the art of restraint? Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and warriors throughout history have understood that real control comes from within. They knew that thinking less, speaking less, and focusing more is not about doing nothing. It's about directing your energy toward what truly matters. Imagine how different your life would be if you could free yourself from overthinking, unnecessary words, and wasted attention. What if, instead of reacting impulsively, you moved through life with unshakable calm? What if your words carried weight because you only spoke when necessary? What if your mind was sharp, disciplined, and fully engaged in what truly mattered? This is not just a theory. It is a powerful practice rooted in Stoicism, a philosophy that has guided emperors, warriors, and great minds for thousands of years. And today, it can transform you. 1. Reclaim your mind. Escape the trap of overthinking. Your mind is a battlefield. Every day, thousands of thoughts flood in, worries, regrets, doubts, fears. They come uninvited, creating endless loops of anxiety and hesitation. Most of them serve no purpose. They replay past mistakes that cannot be undone, anticipate future disasters that may never happen, and magnify trivial problems into overwhelming burdens. Overthinking is like a prison. The more you entertain unnecessary thoughts, the tighter its grip becomes. Epictetus once said, "Man is disturbed not by things, but by the view he takes of them." This is the essence of overthinking. It is not the events themselves that create suffering, but the way we interpret them. A single comment can be shrugged off by one person, but torment another for days. A minor setback can be seen as either a lesson or a personal failure, depending on the perspective. When you overthink, you are not solving problems. You are creating new ones in your mind. You have likely felt this before. You replay conversations in your head, analyzing every word, wondering if you said the wrong thing. You imagine worst-case scenarios, picturing failure before even taking action. You lie awake at night, trapped in the mental fog of what if and why did I? But what has all this thinking ever solved? Has any of it made you happier? Has it given you clarity? Or has it only stolen your peace, your time, and your confidence? To reclaim your mind, you must think less, but think better. This is not about shutting off your mind or ignoring reality. It is about eliminating unnecessary mental noise. Thinking less does not mean being careless. It means being strategic. Most people believe that thinking more gives them control, but the truth is, overthinking leads to paralysis, not progress. When you simplify your thoughts, your mind becomes clear, your focus sharpens, and your energy is no longer drained by meaningless worries. You begin to move with intention, clarity, and confidence. The first step is awareness. Start noticing when your mind spirals into useless overanalysis. Pay attention to the triggers. Does it happen when you're alone? When facing a difficult decision? When dealing with criticism? By identifying the patterns, you regain control over them. The second step is interruption. When you catch yourself overthinking, stop immediately and ask yourself, is this thought within my control? Does thinking about this improve my situation? Will this matter a year from now? If the answer is no, let it go. Train yourself to recognize useless thoughts the same way you recognize spam emails. You wouldn't open every single one. You'd delete them immediately. Treat mental clutter the same way. The third step is redirection. When negative or excessive thoughts creep in, replace them with action. Instead of thinking about what might go wrong, take one small step forward. If your mind is stuck on an unsolvable problem, shift your focus to something productive. Exercise, read, write, create. The more you engage in meaningful actions, the less space you leave for pointless worries. One of the most powerful exercises in Stoicism is the practice of premeditatio malorum, visualizing the worst-case scenario and accepting it in advance. Instead of fearing failure, picture it happening and see that you would survive. This technique strips fear of its power. Once you face the worst in your mind, it no longer controls you. A man once approached a Stoic teacher, plagued by constant worry about what others thought of him. He avoided speaking up at work, hesitated to pursue his dreams, and obsessed over past embarrassments. The teacher handed him a stone and said, "Place this stone in the town square and leave it there." The man did so. When he returned, the teacher asked, "How many people stopped to look at your stone?" "No one," the man replied. The teacher nodded. And that is exactly how many people are thinking about your mistakes. Most of your overthinking is based on an illusion. The illusion that people care about your every action, that your mistakes define you, that your fears are real. But in reality, people are too focused on their own lives to analyze yours. Once you realize this, you free yourself from the unnecessary burden of self-doubt. Imagine waking up tomorrow with a new mindset. Instead of replaying past failures, you focus only on the present moment. Instead of worrying about what others think, you direct your energy toward your own growth. Instead of drowning in thought, you act with clarity and purpose. A mind free from overthinking is calm but powerful. It is focused but adaptable. It moves not with hesitation, but with certainty. This is the mind of a Stoic, and it can be yours if you choose to reclaim it. 2. Master your speech. The power of silence. Words have power. They shape perception, create influence, and command respect. But they also have the ability to betray you. Every unnecessary word you speak can expose weaknesses, reveal insecurity, and diminish your authority. The more you talk, the more likely you are to say something foolish, impulsive, or regrettable. In contrast, those who master restraint, who speak with intention rather than compulsion, hold an undeniable strength. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill every pause, assuming that speaking more means knowing more. But true wisdom is not found in excessive words. It is found in knowing when not to speak. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, understood this. He advised, "Keep silence for the most part, and speak only when you must, and then briefly." This is not just about avoiding mistakes. It is about understanding that powerful individuals do not need to prove themselves with words. They let their presence, actions, and rare but deliberate speech do the work for them. Imagine two leaders in a room. One speaks at length, over-explaining every point, trying desperately to assert authority. The other listens, waits, and speaks only when necessary. Who commands more respect? It is always the one who does not waste words. Great leaders, strategists, and thinkers have always known the power of restraint. Warren Buffett, one of the most successful investors in history, is known for his long pauses in conversations. He listens far more than he speaks, and when he does speak, people pay attention because they know he does not waste words. This is the paradox of power. The more you speak, the less impact you have. The less you speak, the more people listen. Silence creates an unsettling effect. In conversations, people expect a response. They expect you to react, to explain yourself, to justify. But what happens when you do not? The room becomes uncomfortable. The other person becomes anxious. They start revealing more than they intended, and that is where true control lies. When you master silence, you force others to expose their emotions, insecurities, and weaknesses. Think about the last time someone insulted you. Your instinct was likely to react, to defend yourself, to fire back with words. But what if you had simply stayed silent? The person insulting you would be thrown off balance, wondering if you were indifferent, unaffected, or simply in control. This is the true power of silence. It forces the other person to question themselves instead of escalating the situation. It removes their power and gives it back to you. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Roman emperors and a devoted Stoic, understood that restraint was a leader's greatest strength. He did not waste energy on pointless arguments, nor did he feel the need to explain his every decision. He believed that actions spoke louder than words, and that a leader should remain composed in all situations. "The more we talk about what we will do, the less we do," he wrote in Meditations. This is a profound truth. Words should serve action, not replace it. But mastering silence is not just about controlling others. It is about controlling yourself. It requires emotional discipline. Most people talk excessively because they lack control over their own emotions. They react out of frustration, anxiety, or the need for validation. A Stoic, however, does not allow emotions to dictate speech. They pause, they assess, they choose words with precision, not impulse. Imagine stepping into a high-stakes negotiation. The person across from you is eager to prove themselves, to dominate the conversation, to make their point heard. But instead of jumping in, you wait, you listen, you let them speak first. You observe not just their words, but their body language, tone, and emotional state. Every word they say gives you more information about their fears, their priorities, their weaknesses. And when you finally speak, your words carry far more weight because they are calculated, deliberate, and sharp. Silence, when used correctly, can be a tool of persuasion and influence. It forces people to lean in, to listen, to wonder what you are thinking. Have you ever noticed that in a debate, it is often the one who speaks the least that holds the most power? They do not waste energy in defensive explanations. Instead, they let the other person wear themselves out, revealing more than they should. The biggest mistake people make is believing that they must always be heard to be valued. This is false. In fact, speaking too much devalues your words. If you constantly voice every thought, your speech loses impact. But when you speak only when necessary, people listen. They know that when you do talk, it matters. This is how great thinkers, military strategists, and leaders command attention without demanding it. If you want to master your speech, start by practicing deliberate silence. The next time you feel the urge to fill a gap in a conversation, resist. Let the silence sit. Watch how the other person reacts. Notice how much more control you have when you do not immediately respond. In your personal life, silence builds respect. The friend who listens more than they speak is often the one people trust the most. The leader who does not over-explain commands authority. The person who does not feel the need to voice every opinion is perceived as wise. The ability to reduce unnecessary speech makes you someone whose words carry weight. Silence also sharpens your mental discipline. Many conflicts escalate not because of what was said, but because of how quickly it was said. A person reacts impulsively, emotions take over, and they say something they regret. But the ability to pause before speaking prevents unnecessary damage. It allows calm, logical thinking to take control instead of raw emotion. There is a saying, "A fool speaks because he has to say something. A wise man speaks because he has something to say." Which one do you want to be? Most people talk out of habit. They complain, narrate their thoughts, engage in meaningless small talk, not because it is necessary, but because silence makes them uncomfortable. But discomfort is where growth happens. If you can learn to sit in silence, to observe rather than react, you will develop a level of self-control that few possess. If you are ready to master your speech, try this challenge. For the next 24 hours, reduce your words by 50%. Speak only when absolutely necessary. Let others talk. Observe their words. Pay attention to how much information they reveal when you stay silent. And when you finally do speak, make sure your words have impact. True power is not found in speaking more, but in speaking less. Those who understand this become leaders, influencers, and respected individuals. Those who do not remain trapped in the illusion that talking more equals control. The choice is yours. 3. Train your focus, eliminate distractions, and become unstoppable. In the modern world, focus is more valuable than intelligence. The ability to lock in on a task, to work with deep concentration, and to resist distractions is what separates the truly successful from the endlessly busy. Yet, most people today are prisoners of distraction. They check their phones the moment they wake up. They jump from task to task, constantly interrupted by notifications, social media, and meaningless conversations. Their minds are never fully engaged, and as a result, they rarely produce anything of real value. Seneca warned that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. The real issue is not time itself, it is how we use it. People complain about not having enough time, yet they spend hours scrolling through their phones, engaging in trivial debates, or passively consuming content that does nothing to improve their lives. If you ever feel like you're working hard but making little progress, the culprit is likely lack of focus, not lack of effort. The world is designed to steal your attention. Every app, every platform, every notification is engineered to pull you in, to keep you engaged just long enough for them to profit. Your mind is constantly under attack, and if you do not learn to defend your focus, you will live your entire life reacting, never truly in control. Distraction is not just a minor inconvenience, it is a silent destroyer of potential. Every time you switch tasks, your brain pays a cost. Studies show that it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds to refocus after a distraction. Now imagine how many times a day you check your phone, get interrupted by a message, or switch between tasks unnecessarily. Multiply that by weeks, months, and years. The amount of deep, meaningful work you are losing is staggering. This is why some people make extraordinary progress, while others remain stuck in the same cycle of frustration. It is not because they are smarter, it is because they have trained their minds to resist distraction and stay locked in. They understand that attention is a weapon, and they use it with precision. Imagine two people working on a project. One works in a state of deep concentration, completely immersed for 3 hours, blocking out every distraction. The other works for 6 hours but constantly switches between tasks, checks their phone, responds to emails, and lets their mind wander. Who will produce better results? Always the first. Because true productivity is not about how long you work, but how deeply you work. The Stoics believed in simplicity, discipline, and eliminating what does not serve you. They understood that a cluttered mind leads to a scattered life. To train your focus, you must cut out the unnecessary. The first battle begins in the morning. Most people wake up and immediately check their phones. The moment they do this, they surrender their attention. Instead of starting the day with clarity and intention, they begin reacting to messages, to news, to notifications. They allow the world to dictate their mood and their focus before they have even taken their first conscious breath of the day. If you want to take back control, do this. For the first hour of your morning, do not check your phone. Do not consume information. Do not allow external distractions to dictate your state of mind. Instead, spend that time setting your focus for the day, reading, journaling, exercising, or working on your most important task. This single habit alone will give you an immense advantage over 99% of people who start their days in distraction. Modern culture glorifies multitasking, but science has repeatedly proven that it is a myth. When you try to do multiple things at once, your brain is not actually doing them simultaneously. It is switching rapidly between tasks, and each time it switches, it loses efficiency, makes more mistakes, and drains more energy. Instead of trying to do everything at once, choose one task, eliminate all distractions, and go all in. Turn off notifications, put your phone in another room, and work in uninterrupted blocks of time. You will be amazed at how much faster and better you perform when your mind is fully locked in. Deep work is the ability to concentrate without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. This is what allows great thinkers, writers, scientists, and creators to produce groundbreaking work. But deep work is not a natural state. It must be trained. Start with focused work sessions. Set a timer for 90 minutes and commit to working on just one thing. No distractions. No checking messages, no switching tasks. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back. Over time, your brain will adapt and your ability to focus will grow stronger. The Stoics deliberately exposed themselves to hardship not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they knew that discipline is built in discomfort. You can apply this to focus by training yourself to resist small urges. When you feel the impulse to check your phone, resist it. When you feel like quitting a task early, push through. Every time you do this, you strengthen your mental muscles. The more you practice resisting distraction, the more mentally unshakable you become. Over time, this discipline will extend beyond your work. It will affect every area of your life. You will become more patient, more present, and more in control of your mind than ever before. Two people wake up every morning. One spends their day in constant distraction, reacting to every message, consuming endless content, jumping between tasks, and struggling to get anything meaningful done. The other ruthlessly protects their focus, eliminates distractions, and works deeply on what truly matters. Who will build a powerful career, create meaningful work, and live a disciplined life? Who will remain trapped in busyness without progress? The answer is obvious. If you want to be unstoppable, train your focus like a warrior. Cut out the unnecessary, guard your attention, work deeply, not distractedly. When you master your focus, you master your life. 4. Develop unbreakable self-control. Most people live as prisoners of their emotions. They are controlled by impulses, reacting instead of responding, allowing fear, anger, and doubt to dictate their actions. They lash out in frustration when things don't go their way, make rash decisions in the heat of the moment, and later regret what they said or did. They fall into patterns of procrastination, indulgence, and distraction, chasing temporary pleasure while avoiding the discomfort of discipline. They believe they are in control, but in reality, they are slaves to their urges, their cravings, their shifting emotions. A Stoic does not live this way. A Stoic does not react, he responds. He does not allow his emotions to rule him, he rules them. He does not seek instant gratification, he practices restraint. The difference between an ordinary person and a master of self-control is simple. The ordinary person is ruled by whatever they feel in the moment, while the master of self-control does what is necessary, regardless of how they feel. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The world will test you. You will encounter people who provoke you, unexpected setbacks that challenge you, and temptations that threaten to pull you off course. The weak-minded will crumble under these pressures. The self-controlled will remain unshaken, adapting and persevering without being thrown off balance. This is true power, not the ability to dominate others, but the ability to dominate yourself. Self-control is not something you are born with. It is something you build. It is a muscle that must be trained daily. Every time you resist an impulse, delay gratification, or override an emotional reaction, you strengthen that muscle. And like any skill, it becomes easier the more you practice it. The greatest warriors, leaders, and thinkers throughout history understood this. They did not allow their moods or external events to dictate their actions. They did what needed to be done, whether they felt like it or not. To develop self-control, begin with the small things. When you feel the urge to check your phone, resist it. When you feel like skipping a workout, do it anyway. When someone says something that irritates you, pause before responding. Most people fail, not because they lack intelligence or opportunity, but because they lack the ability to control their own impulses. They eat what they know is unhealthy, waste time on distractions, and say things in anger that they later regret. They seek comfort over discipline, and in doing so, they weaken themselves. The ability to control your reactions is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. Imagine two people facing the same adversity. One panics, lashes out, and complains, while the other remains calm, assesses the situation, and adjusts their approach. Who will succeed? Always the one who remains composed. The world belongs to those who can keep their emotions in check, who can think clearly under pressure, and who do not let temporary discomfort pull them away from long-term goals. One of the best ways to train self-control is through voluntary hardship. The Stoics practice this by deliberately exposing themselves to discomfort, fasting, sleeping on the floor, enduring physical challenges, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they understood that comfort breeds weakness. When you actively choose discomfort, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your impulses. You rewire your brain to embrace discipline instead of avoiding it. Imagine waking up tomorrow and making a conscious decision to master yourself. Instead of reaching for your phone first thing in the morning, you sit in silence and take control of your thoughts. Instead of indulging in unhealthy food, you choose nourishment over cravings. Instead of reacting emotionally in an argument, you pause, breathe, and respond with wisdom. Every time you make a disciplined choice, you take back power from your emotions. You move from being controlled to being in control. Most people believe that self-control is about restriction, about denying yourself enjoyment. But in reality, self-control is freedom. It is the ability to live on your own terms, to make decisions based on logic instead of impulse, to stay focused on what truly matters instead of being swayed by distractions. The person who lacks self-control is constantly pulled in different directions, by emotions, by temptations, by the influence of others. They may seek pleasure, but they are never truly free. Developing unshakable self-control is not about becoming emotionless. It is about mastering your emotions instead of letting them master you. It is about training yourself to pause before reacting, to act with intention instead of impulse, to choose discipline over comfort. It is about becoming the kind of person who does not break under pressure, who remains steady in the face of challenges, who carries themselves with strength and composure in all situations. Imagine walking into a room where chaos is unfolding, people are arguing, emotions are high, tension is thick in the air. The average person gets caught up in it, reacting, shouting, contributing to the noise, but the person with self-control remains silent, observing, assessing, deciding when and how to act. They do not allow the energy of others to dictate their behavior. Instead, they move with deliberate intention, and because of this, they command respect. There is nothing more powerful than a person who cannot be provoked, who does not let external circumstances shake their inner stability. This is why the Stoics trained daily in the art of self-mastery. They knew that the ability to control one's own thoughts, emotions, and actions was the ultimate form of strength. They knew that a disciplined mind creates a disciplined life. To build this level of control, start by identifying the areas where you most often lose control. Is it anger? Do you react too quickly, allowing frustration to dictate your words and actions? If so, train yourself to pause before speaking, to let emotions settle before responding. Is it procrastination? Do you avoid difficult tasks and give in to distraction? If so, train yourself to take immediate action, even when you don't feel like it. Is it overindulgence? Do you eat, drink, or spend beyond what is necessary? If so, practice voluntary restriction. Learn to be content with less. With each small act of self-control, you build a foundation of discipline that will carry over into all areas of your life. Over time, you will notice a shift. You will no longer feel the need to react impulsively. You will no longer be easily influenced by others. You will no longer let emotions dictate your decisions. Instead, you will move through life with clarity, power, and purpose. This is what separates the great from the ordinary. The great do not let emotions drive their actions. They do not let discomfort dictate their choices. They do not seek instant gratification at the expense of long-term success. They choose mastery over indulgence, control over reaction, wisdom over impulse. The question is, will you? Tomorrow morning when you wake up, you will have a choice. You can give in to old habits, react to everything that happens, let your emotions dictate your actions. Or you can take control. You can practice restraint. You can act with purpose instead of impulse. Which path will you choose? Because in the end, your life is nothing more than the sum of your choices, and those who master themselves master everything. 5. Live simply, live powerfully. The art of essentialism. Most people live overwhelmed by complexity. Their minds are filled with unnecessary worries, their days consumed by meaningless tasks, their lives cluttered with things they do not need. They mistake busyness for progress, excess for success, and distractions for meaning. They chase after more possessions, more approval, more status, believing that these things will bring fulfillment. But in the end, they only find exhaustion. Stoicism teaches that power comes from simplicity. The less you need, the more powerful you become. The fewer distractions you entertain, the more focused you are. The less you allow external circumstances to dictate your happiness, the more control you have over your life. Seneca once wrote, "If you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters." In other words, stop worrying about things that do not matter. Stop trying to keep up with trends, engage in meaningless debates, or prove yourself to people who do not contribute to your growth. Focus only on what truly moves you forward. Imagine waking up tomorrow with nothing to prove to anyone. No need to impress, no need to seek validation, no need to accumulate things just to fill an emotional void. Instead, imagine waking up with a clear sense of purpose, knowing exactly what matters, and directing all your energy toward it. That is the power of simplicity. It sharpens your mind, strengthens your actions, and frees you from the burdens that slow you down. Most people live their lives as collectors, hoarding possessions, commitments, opinions, distractions, without realizing that every unnecessary thing they accumulate is another weight on their shoulders. They mistake consumption for fulfillment, believing that having more will make them happy. But look at history's greatest minds, Stoic philosophers, leaders, and visionaries. They did not waste their energy chasing more. They focused on less, but did it better. Marcus Aurelius, despite being the ruler of an empire, lived with restraint, constantly reminding himself that material wealth was fleeting. Epictetus, born a slave, found freedom not in possessions, but in self-mastery. The most powerful individuals in history were not those who had the most, but those who were burdened by the least. The first step to reclaiming your power is to eliminate what does not serve you. Start with your mind. Reduce unnecessary thoughts. Most stress comes from dwelling on things beyond your control, other people's opinions, past mistakes, imagined fears. Let them go. Your mental space is valuable. Do not waste it on what you cannot change. Clear your mind, and you will find peace. Then, refine your speech. Do not waste words on things that do not matter. Most conversations are filled with gossip, complaints, and empty talk that add nothing to your life. Instead, speak with purpose. Choose your words carefully and let your silence carry weight. A person who speaks only when necessary is a person who commands respect. Next, simplify your actions. Stop trying to do everything. Stop overcommitting to tasks, projects, and obligations that do not align with your values. Most people feel exhausted not because they are working hard, but because they are working on things that do not truly matter to them. The key is not to do more, it is to do less, but with greater focus and intensity. Prioritize only what moves you closer to your goals and cut out everything else. Now, look at your possessions. How much do you own that you do not truly need? Most people accumulate things not because they require them, but because they believe they will find happiness in them. But material excess is a trap. The more you own, the more you must maintain, protect, and worry about. The Stoics understood that true wealth is not having more, but needing less. Seneca practiced voluntary poverty, not because he had to, but because he wanted to prove to himself that he could live without excess. When you strip away what is unnecessary, you realize that happiness was never in things to begin with. Beyond material possessions, simplify your relationships. Do not waste energy on toxic people, on trying to impress those who do not truly care about you, or on chasing validation from strangers. Focus on a few deep, meaningful relationships instead of spreading yourself thin across many shallow ones. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow, who inspire you to be better, who push you toward greatness. A simple life is not about isolation. It is about choosing wisely where you invest your time and energy. The modern world constantly pressures you to do more, to buy more, to be more. But this is an illusion. The people who achieve the most are not those who run themselves into exhaustion trying to keep up with everything. They are those who master the art of essentialism, who focus on what is truly important and ignore the rest. Imagine stepping away from the noise. No more chasing trends. No more engaging in meaningless arguments. No more cluttering your life with things that do not contribute to your purpose. Imagine having clarity, knowing exactly what matters, where to direct your focus, and how to move forward without distraction. That is the kind of power that simplicity gives you. Most people fear letting go because they believe they will lose something valuable. But the truth is, by letting go of the non-essential, you gain something far greater: freedom. The freedom to move without baggage, the freedom to think without clutter, the freedom to live with clarity, purpose, and strength. Living simply does not mean living passively. It does not mean settling for mediocrity. It means stripping away the unnecessary so that you can fully commit to what matters. It means removing distractions so that you can sharpen your focus. It means choosing depth over superficiality, quality over quantity, mastery over mindless action. Tomorrow morning, you will wake up and face a choice. You can continue as before, drowning in excess, weighed down by distractions, spending your energy on things that add no real value to your life. Or you can make a change. You can start removing what is unnecessary, simplifying your mind, your words, your actions, your possessions, and your relationships. You can start living with intention. The question is, will you? Those who master simplicity master life. Those who eliminate distractions unlock their full potential. Those who stop chasing everything begin moving with real power. The choice is yours. You now understand the immense power of thinking less, speaking less, and focusing more. By reclaiming your mind, mastering your speech, eliminating distractions, developing self-control, and embracing simplicity, you are no longer at the mercy of external chaos. You become the one who dictates your own path. The Stoics knew that true strength does not come from reacting to everything, but from choosing where to place your energy. Now, it is your turn to apply these principles. Start today. Simplify your thoughts, refine your words, sharpen your focus, and watch how your life transforms. Are you ready to take control? You now hold the keys to a more powerful, more disciplined, and more intentional life. Thinking less frees your mind from useless noise. Speaking less sharpens your words into tools of influence. Focusing more directs your energy toward what truly matters. These are not just theories. They are actionable principles that will reshape your reality if you have the courage to apply them. The Stoics understood that power does not come from reacting to everything, but from choosing where to place your attention, your effort, and your voice. But knowledge without action is meaningless. Now is the time to take control. Choose one principle from this video and commit to it today. Reduce overthinking by questioning whether a thought is useful. Master your speech by practicing intentional silence. Train your focus by eliminating one distraction that weakens you. Small changes, when practiced daily, create transformation. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. The world is full of people drowning in mental clutter, lost in meaningless words, and pulled in 1,000 directions. Help them break free. Like this video, subscribe for more Stoic insights, and comment below. Which principle do you find the hardest to apply in your life? Seneca once said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." The same applies to your mind, your words, and your focus. So ask yourself, where will you choose to be?